This time on Between the Wheels.
There was only like 17 or 18 HEMI Road Runners designated for Canada. You know, I couldn't afford to walk out and buy one unless I started dealing meth or something, so I just built the thing myself. No noise dampening stuff in the roof or the floors.
Can't take the Road Runner for Burnout today.
No.
But we can take this thing for a Burnout.
Bought it new in 1970.
Those were the best days of our lives, I think.
17 years old when I bought that car.
Ran on the street. I went there, made noise, and went home.
Yeah, that's what it feels like in a 9-second car.
I got it up on jack stands and I cried.
Most people would look at it and say, it's a basket case, you can't fix that.
I mean, we didn't have any safety checks and none of this bullshit down. I mean, everybody just drove a car, you know.
At 40 miles an hour, if you're gonna crash in this thing, you're friggin' dead.
I spent probably 16-hour days. I would end up sleeping in the body shop in a car.
It's gonna be a lot of work, and she said, who cares?
It wasn't that we had money falling out of our pockets. We made the car happen because of the desire to restore the car.
All right, so I'm standing here with Terry. Terry, it's nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
Terry's gonna take us on a tour of this awesome place. We're gonna do some burnouts in his Chevelle. We're gonna check out his truck, and then we're gonna go inside and look at your Road Runner.
Yep.
Yeah, give me a tour of your place here. What do you got here, man?
Yeah. Cool. 66 Chevelle. It's my daily driver. 355, 700R tranny with overdrive there, so I travel all over the place with it.
Nice. So we'll be jumping into this shortly and going for a little cruise. Now, before we get into Chevelle itself, you also got a monster truck out here. This is something not a lot of people have around here.
61 Cadillac hearse. I take kids for rides for birthday parties and stuff, and adults. I had an 89-year-old lady in it here a couple weeks ago.
No kidding.
Yeah, seats 7 people at a time.
Wow.
I run over some cars and climb some hills and run through some water. And...
Okay, so you actually run over cars with this thing?
Oh yeah, everybody laughs, cries and whatever. It's all full of seats up in there.
Wow, okay. Wow, so this seats quite a few people. So we are definitely gonna do this vehicle in the future.
Yeah, we'll take her for a rip.
So if people wanna see that, let us know. Well, as somebody who grew up watching Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, 454. It's made to run all day, not overheat. 5-ton diffs, 2.5-ton transfer case.
Nice. Well, we'll take this thing for a rip in the next episode. All right. So show me around here. What are we looking at here?
Well, this is my shop. I do some work on muscle cars and classic cars. No Honda Civics or any of that stuff.
This is your 69 Road Runner. And it's a HEMI, but it originally wasn't a HEMI. It had a 383 because the Road Runners either came with a 383 or a HEMI. Tell us about this car.
Like most car guys, I couldn't afford to buy a HEMI Road Runner, so you got to build it yourself.
Right.
So I bought the shell, came from the States. That was like 10 grand for a rust-free shell. So it's all Mopar floors and body panels. I went for the 1967 HEMI because it has solid lifters and a little more throttle response and stuff. And the purple and the lift-off hood, which you couldn't get with a HEMI. And I put the vinyl top on, so when I lift the hood off, you can throw the hood on the roof and not scratch it all to shit.
That's a good idea.
Yep. There was only, I think, 17 or 18 HEMI Road Runners designated for Canada.
Really?
And out of that many, 4 of them were 4-speeds.
Okay.
And out of that many, how many were purple or still exist, really?
Yeah, so it's pretty rare.
We have no idea, so that's why I just went and built my own.
Well, that's pretty cool. And the thing about the Road Runner, now these cars, there's basically 4 lines. You know, you had the GTX, you had the Belvedere, you had the Satellite, and the Road Runner.
Yeah.
Why is it the Road Runner that you chose versus the other ones?
Because they're the cheapest with the bigger motors. The other ones, the GTXs, are more like, they got more chrome trim and stuff on them. They're actually nice too.
Right.
And same with the Satellite and that. They all have that, the Satellite Sport. They all have the extra trim and stuff. The Road Runners are really plain. Like those side marker lights, they're not lights, they're reflectors. There's no wiring for them, that's from the factory. No noise dampening stuff in the roof or the floors. cheap. As cheap as you could get those things.
So not only were they cheap, it's almost like they had more of a muscle feel because there's no, you know, there's no bells and whistles literally on this thing. So whereas the GTX is built off the Satellite, I believe, so this one is built off the Belvedere, which is a more stripped down version. So this one is definitely the cheaper option. And to date, when it comes to the GTX, only about 5,000 were built that year, so there wasn't that many, so they were hard to get. So I guess the Road Runner just made sense for the working man to get it.
Yeah, in '68, they had the sales were up, and then in '69, they're deciding what to do. They're going to add stuff to it, and they said, no, we're going to take stuff off of it. That's where they lost the side marker lights and the noise dampening stuff.
Oh, really?
68s actually have all that stuff.
Oh, so they changed it.
69s are lighter.
Okay, I didn't know
bit.
that.
Like not much, but a little bit, you know.
Well, that's cool, because then in '70 they changed the design altogether. There was a 1 year
everything
car.
went south right there.
But this look is really iconic. It's unfortunate that it only was around for a few years, but it makes it all the more special now that you have it, obviously. So now with the HEMI, obviously these cars came with 2 different engines, but when it comes to all the different types of engines, you also have the 440, which didn't come in this car. But when you have something like the 440, which has, I guess, higher displacement, what is it that made the HEMI so much better than the 440? Because it seems like everyone talks about the HEMI, no one talks about the 440.
Yeah, well, the 440 was actually faster right from the factory. But the minute you do any modification to a HEMI, like even flip the breather or something, you know, the horsepower starts coming out, like headers and cams and stuff. It just goes crazy then.
Okay.
If you do the same amount of work to a 440, you don't get the same results.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And is there any other, I guess, differences that made the HEMI more desirable than the 440?
Because they cost more, so way fewer of them were bought.
Right.
And the 440 being quicker, everybody, that's the first thing they looked at.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted, eh?
Okay, but you can make the 426 faster than the 440.
Very easily.
Very easily. Okay, so that made sense. But they cost more, so they were harder to get.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they were a new motor design, kind of like back then. They're only just out a couple of years, right?
So what year were they started in the 426?
Fuck, I know, 66 maybe,
66
something like that. Well, they had other smaller versions, the 352 or 331s, and yeah, I'm not up on all of them, but I know I got this from the muscle car shop in Montreal, and they have the HEMI shootouts out there. They just had it a couple of weeks ago of all the HEMIs, and they all seem to use the solid lifter ones. Okay. The motor has to be stock to enter that class.
Okay.
So that's what they use.
Okay, and then back in the day, like obviously now 400 some horsepower, 375, that kind of thing, it's not crazy, but back in those days that was a lot, because I guess the fastest one of the fastest would probably be the Yenko, the 427. You can get up to 450 with the Novas, I want to say, or the Camaros, but for Mopar, like these were like top of the line, I guess you could say.
Pretty much, yeah.
And how much horsepower was this one rated at?
425 from the factory, yeah, but that was underrated, of course, like everything else back then. But
yeah, they said back in the day they underrated the horsepower.
Yeah, they did for insurance.
Yeah.
Insurance purposes.
So that's
it's probably like 500 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And so what is it that you love so much about the Road Runner, other obviously than the look and the stripped down version? What is it that like made you say, hey, I want a Road Runner?
I don't know, it's just rare.
It's rare?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like money in the bank. Every year it sits here, it goes up in value.
That's right. Well, smart. So that's an investment you can't lose money on for sure. Very cool.
Yeah, I knew I couldn't afford just to walk out and buy one unless I started dealing meth or something, so I just built the thing myself. About 5 years.
5 years, eh?
Yeah.
Now tell us about the restoration, because when I spoke to you, you actually mentioned that you try to keep all the metal original.
Oh yeah. And so if you go to buy a car and someone says it's got all new floors, that's a bad sign.
Okay.
That's not good.
Really?
It means it was rusted at one time. So you got to go start off with, if you want something good, you got to start off with a good shell. And that's all Mopar floors and fenders and doors. And
no kidding, so the value actually goes down if you change any metal.
It's never been rusted.
Wow. You know, as somebody who's been restoring a Chevy, I never heard anybody say, hey, if you change the floor, it's going to lower the value, but Mopar is different.
Well, if you can do it with good enough that you can't tell it's been changed, it's all right, but that's hard to do.
Right.
Yeah, you need rotisserie for that.
Nice. So this was in great shape just because it came from the States. It was already, and I'm looking at it like that firewall looks amazing. Usually that's one of the things that is pretty rough. So.
Yeah, it was silver underneath when I bought it. The guy dropped dead, so I bought it off of his estate, and so all I had to do was scuff the silver paint underneath. I had it on a rotisserie, so it wasn't that big a job.
Right.
Scuffed it, and then got the bottom painted purple, and then brought it back home and put it back on its wheels. Took it back down same day, and got him to start working on the other parts of it, because body shops nowadays can drag out for 6 or 8 months, a year sometimes.
Right.
So I didn't want to lose my spot in the lineup, so I got her back down to the body shop right away and painted the rest of it.
And another thing is the color. You picked my favorite color and a lot of people's favorite color, Plum Crazy, which arguably looks the best on these cars. What is it that made you pick that color?
I seen a Challenger in Carling Avenue one time, a purple one at night, and I seen the way all the lights were reflecting on it. And anytime I Googled Road Runner, they're always orange with black hoods. I thought, well, purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I painted it black primer first, so the purple's just a hair darker.
Nice.
If you notice, it's hard to tell unless I'm parked beside another one.
Right. Well, it looks really good. And the last thing I want to talk about is the interior. So what kind of interior? Because it had a pretty stripped down version of the interior. So what do you have in there?
Still the same, factory. It has an oil pressure gauge I put on it just for the first running of the engine and that I'll probably take off soon now, because the factory oil light's still hooked up. And
nice.
It's got the factory tack, all the interior. Yeah, I'd like to put a shorter shifter in it, but the Mopar guys go crazy if I screw with that, because it's a big, long shifter. It's hard to shift.
Okay. And then in terms of the transmissions, it has a 4-speed. What type of 4-speeds were there? Like, which one do you have selected?
This is the 833 that came in it. Actually, it's the original tranny for this car.
Okay, so
that's about it. They're pretty tough.
Nice. So you didn't have to beef it up, because in a lot of cases you would have to, but in this case they're strong enough.
Well, GM's got Muncie 20s and Muncie 22s and all that. Well, these lads, Mopar just got the one massive strong one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they have a HEMI version with different splines on the input shafts and that, but the rest is the same.
Oh, that's interesting, because with the Chevys, like if you had a smaller engine, 350, if you went up to a 427, you really should have upgraded your transmission to like a rock crusher transmission M22.
Yeah.
But in this case, you don't even need to do that, so it makes it look okay.
Yep.
And then you kept everything as original as possible. So.
And the Dana 60.
And then Dana 60, so it's a huge rear end, as big as they got back then. So nice. Well, I think the last thing to do is to actually take this thing on the road and take it for a spin, see how she does.
I'll just throw the hood on her.
Let's do it, man. Oh, shit, that is awesome.
I don't know how they drove these things at 150 miles an hour.
That is
starting to move around.
That is something else, man. Oh shit, that is really fun. That is a lot more aggressive than a lot of the Chevys I've been in. Wow. Oh.
Friggin' shifter so long, it's like driving a school bus.
Yeah. You're not the first one to tell me that.
No. Normally you'd have a little short one on here, right, for racing.
Yeah.
A lot quicker, but it's hard to shift it fast.
Right.
It's really hard to speed shift, but my other cars, yeah, you just keep the gas to the floor and change gears. This thing, I wouldn't try it. It would rev up so quick.
Really?
Between gears, and by the time you move that far.
No kidding.
Yeah, it should rev up.
Wow. Man, but this sounds like a real muscle car. Like, this is it.
No rattles or squeaks or anything. It's like a brand new car.
Beautiful, man. Drives super smooth, too.
Yeah. All new shocks and bushings and bolts.
Yeah. Did you have rubber bushings, or did you go polyurethane?
Rubber.
Rubber, yeah.
Factory rubber, yeah.
Okay, wow. So this is as factory as it gets then, more or less.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's in awesome shape. So you must get some looks driving this thing.
Sometimes you get some weird looks. That's just me. Like, look at the distance I gotta go.
Holy crap, eh?
Yeah.
The shifting distance.
Sounds like my tractor.
It's like loading a 2x4 in your trunk. You know, I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard, and when I hear Dukes of Hazzard, this is the sound I think.
Yeah. It's a long straight stretch.
Man, you can't get this experience in a new car. There's no way. And I don't care how fast it is. That's like, you just can't. You even got the beep beep. I love it. A real road runner, man. A car this big, oh, this is a big car. This is not something you screw around with. You gotta have some skill to drive a 4-speed with a Hemi in it.
You can feel the wind moving us around back there.
Wow.
I could anyways.
Yeah. Wow. All right, I'm impressed.
It's a little treacherous in the rain with these 50s.
Yeah, I was gonna say, those big Mickey Thompsons. Now we can't take the Road Runner for Burnout today.
No.
But we can take this thing for a
Oh
Burnout.
yeah, this thing's no problem.
All right, well, let's go have some fun. You almost went Duke boys on us.
That's all it has. That was right to the floor. See, we're in overdrive there now. Yeah. Basically making gas.
I was gonna. That's paying you.
Yes.
Right. So what do you get, like miles per gallon, or yes, or liters per 100, whatever you go by?
It's just easier than anything else I have.
Fair enough.
Which might not be saying much.
No. Nice idle though.
I don't know what it has for a cam, but it sounds pretty good.
It's a nice lumpy cam, that's for sure.
The old guy I bought it off of, all he did was pull out in front of his house and do burnouts with it all the time.
That's what I want to do when I get really old. All right, man, that was a hell of a ride. Thanks for giving us the tour.
We're still alive.
And fun with the Chevelle. You know, those were both really fun cars, but man, what a difference from like a 350 small block, you know, to a 426 Hemi. I get it now why the Hemi is, you know, so loved. But anyways, everyone that's on the show gets a Between the Wheels hat.
Oh yeah?
So that's for you, man. You get to keep that.
Right on.
And if you guys want to see us come back to Uncle Terry's here and check out the Soul Clerk, let us know. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
Thanks for having us, man. Cheers.
No problem.
This time on Between the Wheels.
What got you into muscle cars specifically?
What does everybody get into muscle cars? Back in the early 70s, I was too young or couldn't afford a car like this. So I made it like something I saw when I was a kid. It will explode the back tires really, really easy.
I look forward to seeing that.